2019 is the year I pledged to play through the Castlevania franchise and record my journey through these vlogs, culminating in one big video review at the end. Here's the 5th entry after playing Castlevania 2: Belmont's Revenge. Welcome back to the Castlevania Diaries. Today I'm going to be talking about Belmont's Revenge on the Game Boy, which I played through the Castlevania Collection, Anniversary Collection. Now this one is the last one in the super retro style, like 8-bit era of Castlevania, which I'm really thankful for because that's the era that, in general in gaming, I tend to dislike the most. Not to say I don't like the NES era, it's just when you compare it to everything else that came after, that's at the low end. Maybe the only worst thing is like the 80s, 70s and 80s gaming, which I really don't dabble into too much. So anyways, Belmont's Revenge was a game that I was going into with the expectation that it was way better than the first Game Boy game, and in general has a pretty positive reception. I did like quite a bit of things out of it, but overall, because it is a Game Boy game, it just, in my opinion, didn't age that well. When you compare it to the other NES games, there are some things that I do enjoy more. I do like that there's the whole the fireball effect when your whip is fully upgraded. That I like. I like that the fact that there's like 4 castles and each castle's like themed, which is a very different feel than always starting outside of Castlevania, making your way to the heart of the castle and killing Dracula. So it changes the pace a little bit. I feel that there's a little bit less emphasis on stairs in the Game Boy version. In fact, I don't even think there are any stairs. You use like ropes to go up and down. So the vertical levels are a lot less of a challenge in a good way. Like the challenge is different. Then the final boss, I hated the final boss. Well, okay, no, not the final boss. The pre-final boss, which is like your son, which I forget if it's Christopher or if you're Soleil. One of the weirdos is weird, not weirdos, but one of these guys' name like has a really strange name I've never heard of. I think it's Soleil, something like that. That guy was ridiculous. I don't even know how anyone legitimately beat that boss because his pattern is just all over the place. Myself, I use save states. As you all know, that's what I used. My save state time is going to come to an end soon because after I leave the Castlevania collection behind, I'm going to be playing the games in their in a different form where they're not necessarily emulated or don't have the ability to have save states. So I'm gonna have to get good, and because I just can't. It's gonna be very different. Let's just say that. Can't wait to get to those titles in a way. Otherwise, the music is pretty good. Like going into the game, RGT85 had given me a heads up that there was like this one song that was actually quite underrated, and I agree. I think it's in the Cloud Castle that has a song that has a really good beat to it. I forget what it's called, but like it hasn't been really covered extensively like all of the other games. All of the other classic Castlevania themes. So that one's a little bit of a hidden gem, which is interesting. Otherwise, the game took me about an hour and a half to play, to complete with save states again. Not one of my favorites. You know, you got very limited color palettes, of course, because it's Game Boy. Just Game Boy. Overall, it's very limited. But it was, I would have to say, it is an improvement over the first one. And oh yeah, they added secondary weapons in this one, which doesn't mean much to me because I don't find myself using secondary weapons that much, and there's actually an interesting point on that I'm going to cover in the next vlog, because before shooting this one I'm actually 7 games in, so I've got a 2 diary backlog after this one. We're going to be talking about Castlevania 4 and Castlevania, or Super Castlevania 4, that's what it's called, I think, and then what's the other one, Bloodlines. So I'm going to talk about those next time. So I'll see you then on the next Castlevania Diaries. See you then.